Welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. Here, we look closely at the intersections of the postpartum window, the Ayurvedic perspective on health and healing, and the universal mother principles that are the keys to giving and receiving effective care. Hello, I'm Christine Devlin Eck. I'll be taking you through interviews with professionals who are making a profound difference in the lives of their clients, conversations with individuals brave enough to share their stories of vulnerability as a way to lift up others, and my own journey through birth, parenting, caregiving, and building a conscious business. We are here to honor the sacred windows, the profound transitions in life that give it all meaning. Welcome to the conversation.
And I will never be the same again.
Hello, welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. Today we're going to be talking about hormonal health and postpartum and the silent epidemic of hormonal imbalance in women's health. I'm so pleased to introduce you to Ashley Rocha. Ashley's a pioneering advocate for women's hormonal health. She's the founder of Ladywell, which is a company that's dedicated to making hormone care accessible and mainstream. She has had her own personal experience with premenstrual dysphoric disorder and a challenging journey to motherhood. Ashley has really committed herself to looking at hormonal imbalances on a larger scale. And through her business, Ladywell, she's committed to empowering women to reclaim control of their well-being. And she's joining me today from San Francisco, outside of San Francisco. Ashley, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, and thank you for all that you've been doing these years, building your work.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's start with kind of your own journey when you realized that hormonal health was no joke, and your journey into becoming a parent. Was that the first time that you really experienced the impact of hormonal imbalance?
Well, I was experiencing hormonal imbalance my whole life ever since I went through puberty. So it was really, I was battling it for 2 decades up until my mid 30s when I was trying to get pregnant. I had PMDD, which I don't know if many people know, but it's like PMS on steroids. It's like the really emotional pieces of PMS dialed up. So you get like really intense mood swings. You can get depression, anxiety, and then you have the common symptoms of PMS. That could be like really intense period pain. So it was just like really amped up PMS, and that just affected my life significantly. But I didn't know it was affecting my life because when I went to the doctor, they said, this is normal. Just take hormonal birth control or SSRIs. They didn't really talk about hormonal imbalance. So I didn't really know what it was. And I thought it was just normal. This is just being a woman. This is my personality. It was my mid 30s. I was about, 35-ish. I wanted to start having babies, and I started trying to get pregnant. I was doing all the right things, tracking my basal body temperature, my ovulation, eating a fertility diet. And I was just really slow to get pregnant. And like after a year, I was like, hey, there's something going on here. And like I started just connecting the dots on my own. Like this has to be hormonal imbalance. All this PMS, PMDD. I started learning what PMDD was as I started, diving into the holes of the internet. And so I just started connecting the pieces myself. And that was when really like the light bulb went off about the importance of hormones as it relates to fertility and beyond that, just like your productivity, your happiness, your body, your sleep, your stress, like everything was so intertwined. And I just didn't know that because that information is not taught to us as women, as teenagers. We just have to find that out on our own. Doctors didn't tell me this, but I'm a trained herbalist. So I really understand the plant world and herbs for healing and the power of plants for healing. So I really just looked to the plant world because I wasn't getting the answers with my doctor, and I knew plants were powerful. I knew there were herbs that can help you with so many things in the world. So I started looking to naturopathic doctors, other herbalists who specialize in women's health. And I started studying and understanding it more and trying these things out for myself. And so I created this plan of, I was taking so many tinctures and different herbs and adaptogens and mushrooms and, more vitamins and changing my diet as well. And through that journey, I was able to really get rid of my PMDD and my PMS within like 6 months, something I've been struggling with for 2 decades. And then I was really, pretty easy. I got pregnant with 2 baby boys. So I just really solved so much for myself by taking my health into my own hands and using supplements and diet and lifestyle changes, things that I just had to really, claw my way, find that information on my own. And so that's why I began Ladywell, because I didn't want other women to have to like go through such a long, arduous journey to find this information. It was so hard for me. And I know it's so important for our health and happiness. So I want to make that information easy to find, spread the knowledge, create supplements that really make changes in women's life, whether it's you have PMS or PCOS, or you want to get pregnant. You want to get pregnant one day in the future, maybe not right now. Maybe you're going through perimenopause. Like, I make targeted life stage supplements that help women at the stage they're at and the journey they're at.
It's so incredible to me that, we, as you said, we really do have to do the work ourselves, unfortunately, because so much of the picture of health, coming from the Ayurvedic perspective, which we talk about a lot on this podcast, um, that for me was where I realized that there were so many other aspects and layers to my human existence than I was getting from this medical system that I was raised in. And so it's just incredible to me that you did the work, you connected those dots and applied the knowledge you had. And I see it over and over again when people realize that we have autonomy in our own story of how we feel in life.
Mhm.
And how incredible that is when we can then take the reins. And of course, like the Western medical system can serve us in so many ways, but it's missing so much of the picture in those subtle aspects of health, like hormonal health, like emotional health, mental health, all these, sensory health. There's so many other unspoken facets of what it is to be a human person. So, bravo to being able to connect those dots and really change the trajectory of your life.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. We're taught to just rely on Western medicine as, living in America. Like, that's like the holy grail and that's the end all be all. But there's so much wisdom in Eastern medicine and just ancient practices. But also our doctors, nothing against them, but they have to learn so much and they're just not given enough training in hormonal health, women's health. Like, they take 1 hour of nutrition in medical school. Like, they're just like most doctors do. So they're not given all the information, and our system isn't set up to allow us to go see nutritionists, go see functional medicine doctors. We're really about treating you once you get sick and not preventing you from getting sick and giving you the information not to get sick. Like, our society's built on making money off of sick people. So it's unfortunate setup, and we do have to be just proactive and take our health into our own hands.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, when you, I mean, it sounds like your story is so wide as all of ours are, and the different, we could really like zoom in to the different stages of your journey. But, you became a mom and you had navigated hormonal imbalances since you were a teenager. How did the postpartum window impact where you were hormonally at that time?
Yeah, so postpartum is, of course, just such a hard time in many different ways and such a beautiful time in many different ways. And it really will depend on who you are and your journey. But I do have to say that people with PMDD or PMS are more likely to experience postpartum depression or some kind of postpartum struggle with your hormones, because people with PMDD are linked to hormonal sensitivity. Our brains basically react negatively to normal fluctuations in hormones, and your body is fluctuating so much in your hormones postpartum. So that's just something to keep in mind and be aware of, that if you have dealt with hormonal imbalances in your past, you might be more susceptible. So I think with hormones, or with the postpartum journey, it's just really important to just know what to expect. And I set myself up to know what to expect. So when the roller coaster was happening, I kind of knew it was coming. Which made me more comfortable with it. And I had the tools to help myself through it. I didn't have any, I would say I was lucky. I didn't have any just like big depression. Like, of course, there's moments of baby blues, and there's a difference between baby blues and postpartum depression. And so, once again, like knowing the difference between those two is important. So, educating yourself on the journey. And so I was just like really versed in what was going to happen to me. I had like my herbs, my supplements ready that I was taking. Of course, they tell you to eat and nourish yourself, which sounds so easy prior to having being in that period. And once you have that baby, like it's just feeding yourself is the hardest thing in the world. So I do recommend, having a game plan for those early days and weeks and months really to take care of yourself as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like, I mean, certainly awareness and preparation, we talk about this a lot, is so much of the game changer, how we go into the postpartum window in terms of knowing what could potentially be a need for us, who our support team is, where we're going to be nourished, because of course the food is our medicine,
Mhm.
the lifestyle routines are the medicine. Um, Feeling mothered ourselves is the medicine. You mentioned earlier, lifestyle practices along with the herbal support, that you had originally really, as an herbalist, went down that path and you knew the power of plants, and talk about, how your daily practices and your routines were able to support the rebalancing of your hormones.
In the postpartum stage.
Yeah, but also just maybe there's like a moment, beyond outside of the postpartum window that is
Yeah.
like sticking out to you too.
Yeah, postpartum, it's funny because postpartum people think like, hey, that's like the first few weeks or months, but I feel like postpartum can go a lot longer. Like I have an 18-month-old right now, and I would still consider this like the postpartum time because you're still adjusting. And things do ebb and flow constantly as motherhood changes and your kids change, like changing by the day, and it's gradual, but it happens. You always have to prioritize your rest and sleep, and this is like pretty much impossible sometimes. But I I think this is common to a lot of women. Once you have a kid or baby, like even when you have those moments that you can sleep at night or take a nap or whatever it is, you still have a hard time falling asleep. Like your signal's always up. It's just really hard to even get in that deep rest. So I struggle with sleep still to this day. Like at night, I'm like, I wake up, even my baby doesn't even wake up anymore. So when I'm going through those stages, I just make sure that I take magnesium at night. Most women are magnesium deficient. You can get magnesium in food, but most of us don't. So I take magnesium at night. I have a spray that Ladywell has that I rub on the soles of my feet and my legs, and that helps me sleep so much better. Because if you can't get enough sleep, that's gonna really put you in a bad mindset, and that just impacts the rest of your day. Like I was saying, food is important. Getting enough protein and healthy fats is really important. I was saying magnesium. If you can eat magnesium in foods, that will help you stay hydrated. Iron-rich foods. So, I mean, there's a lot of different diets. You can just Google postpartum um, diet, which I think will be helpful. But it's like things like eggs, avocado, nuts, fatty fish like salmon, and then dark leafy greens and lean meats and lentils. That really combats postpartum fatigue and replenishes the iron stores because you want to be eating iron-rich food to get that back up. And then I would say, managing stress is important. Stress is going to come no matter what you do in life, and that's why I do try to have mindfulness practices. And once again, it's so hard when you have kids running around. I have two kids. Like it was a lot easier with one, but now I have like I can't even, take a moment to think to myself. So I definitely rely on adaptogens a lot of the times. There's so many different adaptogens out there. Like ones I recommend is ashwagandha or shatavari. It just helps your body's reaction to stress. And an adaptogen basically is something that helps your body like if a stress comes in your life, you roll with the punches more. Whereas in stress came in your life, and you don't take adaptogens, you might just have a really negative reaction and your body will like clench up. And so it's important that we manage our reaction to stress because stress is going to be there no matter what we do. And you can also, do breath work, meditation, yoga type mindful movements if you can fit that in. I'm all about hacks as a mom. Like I know how little time there is. I'm a working mom, right? So I'm trying to balance running a business with being a mom to and trying to be a present mom. I want to be the best mom I can. I struggle with, having to balance that work life and home life as in every mom does. And so I'm all about creating mom hacks. And that's a lot of the reason why I created Ladywell, because I wanted to create supplements that were just like really comprehensive, one-stop shop type of things. When I was going through all my journeys, I was stacking so many different tinctures and supplements. I was taking like 20 things a day, and it is overwhelming, especially for people who don't like understand even what these things are doing and like have background in them, which I did. So that was a little bit helpful. But I created the Daily Hormone Balance, which is one of our supplements that really just is like all in one. It helps you with stress, cycle support, hormone balance, because we are so busy. And I do think simplifying your life as much as you can is the most important thing to do, because you want to be present for your kids. And like that's why we're here and that's why we're doing it. So like taking as much off our plate as possible.
How are you sharing your gifts and passion for caregiving with others? In a world where education and awareness around the postpartum window is lacking or missing from our modern systems, we have a profound opportunity to shift that paradigm. You may be a few simple offerings away from making a truly impactful difference in the lives of mothers and families in your community. We are here to support your journey in the ways that work best for you. Schedule a conscious care strategy session to meet one-on-one with me, and let's identify the right next step for you to begin a path of conscious care for new families that fits your life and your needs. Visit www.sacredwindowstudies.com/strategy-session to schedule a time that works best for you. That's www.sacredwindowstudies.com/strategy-session. Yeah, I always feel like for myself, whatever it is that I can repeat every day reliably, then that's the one that I got to stick with. Because as
Yeah.
sort of a pitta, fairly ambitious person with whatever it is that I'm setting out to do, I can easily want to do a million things and then find myself overwhelmed and not able to do any of them. So it's
Yeah.
this sweet spot, isn't it, of being able to connect with that inner guide that's going to be like, this is what you need, and then do that one thing every single day.
Yes.
And also,
Consistency is so
yeah,
important with this.
that's what it is. It's consistency. And that's when you see the immediate results, is when you are able to repeat it regularly. And I also feel it's like every one of those things that you mentioned, handling stress, making sure that we have good fats and ample protein, making sure that we're resting. All of those things then impact the other systems in the body. So what we're putting in our body for food is going to impact our sleep and how we can manage that stress. So it's like really realizing that all the things we do during the day are contributing to all the other areas that we might want to see a shift in. So I love seeing the connectedness of that, knowing that if I'm really prioritizing, this one aspect of imbalance that I have right now, let's say it's hormonal imbalance, I know that as that hormonal imbalance starts to shift out, it is going to impact my stress response as well. It is going to impact um, my general sense of nourishment, my rest, all of it. So it's pretty amazing um, how many connections there are when we approach it from a whole level like that.
Yes, definitely. I do want to also say that I talked about caring for yourself, but your mental health and connecting with other moms That possibly was the best thing I did. I had my first baby during COVID, so it was kind of a weird time anyways, but I was part of this online mothers group and we ended up meeting in person and we're still really good friends to this day. But just that connection with other moms going through the exact same thing and like shooting texts, like asking advice, like, do you have this problem or what can you do about this? That was, I think, maybe the biggest game changer for me because you don't know what it's like to be a mom until you're a mom. And especially at the exact stages, it's really nice to be with moms at the same stage as you because you're experiencing the same things and having the same epiphanies or ideas and confusions. It's a really powerful thing to be a part of.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's something really magical that happens in our sense of safety, in our sense of I got this, in our sense of just um, comfort and healing that happens when we do it in a group and connection with other people. I see it all
Yeah.
the time
Yeah,
as,
you realize you're normal. Like you're
yeah.
like, do you feel like, postpartum depression and just like that baby blues, like are have been so ignored and just talking about it with other people, you just realize how many people experience it. Most of the moms in my mom's group at some level went through a little bit of depression. So you realize things are so much more common than you expect them to be. And that just makes you feel better. It feels more normal. It helps you just talk about different ways to help yourself in general.
It's so true. I love it so much. In fact, I facilitated a new mom circle for a number of years, and it was really impactful to still, all these years later, run into some of those women, and they're still friends, and their children are all grown, and it's really powerful. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I actually want to be able to hear a little bit about, so yes, so postpartum, we talked about this is a period of time that kind of just keeps going. There's no like official end point for any one person. We can definitely relate to postpartum goes on forever, but there's also like we're going through multiple transitions in our lives all the time.
Mhm.
And yet, hormonal depletion, imbalance, there's things that we sometimes just get used to and tolerate without realizing that they're an issue. Sort of like at the beginning when you were talking about you didn't really know that anything was wrong per se because you were told that that's just how it is. And I think a lot of women and parents walking through the world are just experiencing hormonal imbalance, number one, without being clear that that's what they're going through. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what should we be looking for? What does that look like?
Yeah, hormonal imbalance is so much more common than most people think, and it can impact nearly every aspect of your health. I think there's a stat that 80% of women experience hormone imbalance at some point in their life. And we all know things like PMS, and infertility is like related to hormone imbalance. But I want to go over a few things that are red flags. I think we all know that irregular periods, the absence of a period, or periods that are too long or heavy indicate something about your hormones. That's probably the most common thing. If you have extreme mood swings, irritability, anxiety, depression, if you just feel off emotionally, just like I don't feel like myself, I used to be like this way and now I'm this way, you shouldn't feel that way. You should always, be thriving. As it's not realistic to think you're always thriving, but you shouldn't be in these periods of angst for so long. Fatigue, that's a really common one. I think we all associate that with just the busyness of life, but chronic fatigue is definitely related to your hormones. Like if you have low energy, even though you got a full night's sleep, or if you have that drop off after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you just need some coffee then, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, all can be hormone related. Weight gain or difficulty losing weight. So if you have unexplained weight gain, increased cravings. So hormonal shifts definitely can trigger sugar cravings. And I think we all know about the cravings during your period, but that's, definitely related to hormones. Sleep disturbances. I talked about that. That's a difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. So I have a problem with waking up like in the middle of the night. And I know that's, part of postpartum and part of my hormones. And so that's something I always work on. Night sweats, hot flashes, skin changes, libido, hair thinning. I mean, I can just go on. Digestive issues. These are all related. Like if you have constipation, bloating, your whole body is so, it's all reliant on the other. You can think about hormones as a CEO of your body, and it's like your internet connection. So if your internet connection's going in and out, if it's wobbly, it's going to be really hard to send messages and send emails and then get your work done. Things are just not going to go through and things aren't going to work correctly. So your bodily functions will start to just like kind of go off and not be optimal. And that's when the hormone imbalances are beginning. And you really want to look at that, because with hormone imbalances, things will start snowballing. And this is kind of what happened with me. Like I ignored and ignored and ignored. My PMDD only was like getting worse throughout my whole life. And by me not taking the steps or taking the moment to like help myself and realize what was going on, I was just in this tunnel of endless hormone imbalance that I had to really unravel at the end.
So I feel like I should know this, but so say someone is listening to this and they're like, like some of those symptoms are really feeling familiar to me. How, like, can we just go to our doctor and be like, I'd like to be tested for hormone levels? How does that work?
You can be tested. I recommend going to a naturopathic doctor that specializes in hormones. If this is the topic that you're really talking about and you want to focus on your hormones, because they'll be more equipped and have a lot more background in it. There's different ways to test your hormones. A lot of the times, if you go to get a hormone test, you're just getting a snapshot of that one moment in time. And we know our lives build up of many moments in time, thousands and millions of pictures. So you would have to get it tested again and again just to really get a clearer picture. But there's something called a Dutch test, which is the most effective way to measure your hormones. And so that's what I'd recommend. I don't know if you can get that at a regular conventional doctor, but you can definitely get it at a naturopathic doctor. And that can help you give some insights into your hormones and that kind of stuff. But also, I would say if you do get hormone testing and it comes back and they say you're normal and you're totally fine, but you still feel like there's something off, like follow your intuition. Not all tests are going to be the end all be all. So you should really keep on searching for answers and maybe do tests again in a few months, and look at your cycle and start tracking your own cycle and really recording the data and start to see patterns. And that data will help you if you go to your doctor to get a better diagnosis. Because something like PMDD, for example, that's not really diagnosed through tests. It's diagnosed through symptom tracking. So if you get these symptoms at a specific time in your period, your cycle, then and you check off a few boxes, like that's when they diagnose PMDD. It's not a blood test or anything like that.
Yeah, and again, it's like so tempting to just want the test and want the plan and to like, create this very one-dimensional approach to fixing a problem, where in actuality, as humans living this multifaceted existence and having all of those layers be connected with one another, we have to remember that it's not nothing about being a human is like an instant fix. It's about setting
No.
up a really
Yeah.
strong foundation, setting up the plan that resonates with all the other things. Is my diet resonating with the herbs I'm taking? Is, my lifestyle and my routines supporting all these changes I'm making? And when they're all working together, that's when like actual pretty rapid shifting can happen, but we have to be supporting it from all the different directions.
Yes, definitely. And then with testing, so the Dutch test I mentioned is a dried urine test, and this will give you the most comprehensive picture. And then usually if you're working with a naturopathic doctor or something like that, they will put you on a supplement plan. And then you will go and retest your hormones to see how these herbs or whatever the treatment plan, how it is working on your hormones. So that's the best way to do it. If you have the money, like it's really expensive to go to naturopathic doctors, have these tests. None of this stuff is cheap and is not most likely not covered by insurance. So that's the unfortunate part about our society, the way it's set up. We, once again, it's just like we're not set up for preventative care. It's also the reason why I created Ladywell, was because I wanted to create supplements that help women balance their hormones and manage their hormonal health without having to go to naturopathic doctors, even though I recommend that, of course. But if you don't have the access to it, all our supplements have been created by naturopathic doctors, Western doctors, traditional Chinese medicine doctors. So looking at hormonal imbalances from a lot of different viewpoints and bringing that into creating one supplement that will help you on your hormonal health care journey.
Ashley, where can people find your products?
Yeah, you can find us at getladywell.com. And then we are all about education. Like, as I was saying, there was just not enough of it. It took me so long to even know what a hormone was. And so you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, all the social media at getladywell is our handle. And then I created a promo code for your audience. So Sacred20, your audience will get 20% off any supplement they want to buy on our website.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And what I really appreciate about how you have created your business is that it's as much about educating people and empowering them on how to understand themselves, their bodies, their healing journeys better, as well as providing really accessible options for helping to balance whatever is being experienced as out of balance. And to know that this type of product is being created by someone who's gone through their own journey and is really motivated by your own personal experience is very powerful.
Yes, definitely. This is a mission-driven company. I am trying to change the lives of women and just change society in general. And it's definitely my life's work.
Yeah, I hear you and I feel you. And it's really it's such a joy to me to connect with other people who are feeling similarly that the system can be so much better in so many ways. And so I feel like we're all in it together in that way.
Definitely. Women
Ashley,
have to support women these days.
we do, and
Yeah.
we are. And the
Yes.
the energy behind it all is extremely inspiring and infectious, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. And I'm really happy that we connected. Thank you for sharing about your company and your story. I think a lot of people will feel similarities to what you shared, and it's really important. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Shanti, Shanti.
The Center for Sacred Window Studies has been training postpartum care providers, professionals who work with new families, and individuals passionate about postpartum care since 2018. We regularly host live free events alongside our online and in-person training and certification programs. Hop on our newsletter list to get direct access to all of our events and community support gatherings. Our mission is not only in training conscious postpartum care providers, but in fostering a robust, informed, and thriving community of postpartum professionals. Once you step inside, you're family forever. Visit www.sacredwindowstudies.com to add your email to our newsletter list. You can support our work by subscribing to the Sacred Window podcast and sharing with someone you know who would love it. Thanks for being here and participating in the culture-wide shift that recognizes the need for and the importance of conscious postpartum care.